So I hope you guys can see my screen. All right. Talking about Apex, as I told you, it's a programming language which we're going to use to write our own logic. So Apex is a strongly typed object-oriented programming language that allows developers to execute flow and transaction control statements. Right? So it allows you to execute the flows and transaction control statements on the Force.com platform. Correct? Apex enables developers to add business logic to most system events. So this in a way allows the developers to add business logic to most of the system events. All right. Something like a button click or a related record update or a visual force page, right? So you can add logics on these things, on a button, on a visual force page, on a record being updated, right? So that's what Apex does. Since it's a strongly typed programming language, we always need to define the data type of the variables that we define in it. All right. When we are defining the variable and we need to define the data type, first thing that we need to do is what all data types are allowed. Right. So data types are in Apex, all variables and expressions have a data type that is one of the following. So these are the data types which are allowed. Primitives, I'll talk about each one of them, as objects and collections. Okay, so primarily we deal with primitives as objects and collections. Primitives is the normal data types which you see in any other programming language also. Something like a string, integer, date, boolean. Boolean is true or false basically. Uh, date, time, decimal, long. These are all primitives. S object is the data type which stands for Salesforce object. So these are the data types which come from Salesforce object. So these can be account, contact, opportunity, lead, whatever objects we have in Salesforce, or whatever objects we create in Salesforce. All right. Collection is basically data types to store multiple values, and collection can be of primitives or it can be of S objects. So collections can be for primitives and they can be for S objects also. Got it? Now talk about primitives. So what are the most common primitives? Apex primitive data type include Boolean. Boolean is a data type which can hold only a true, false, or null. Only three values: true, false, null. Decimal, a number that includes a decimal point. Double, a 64-bit number that includes a decimal point. ID, any valid Salesforce.com ID. So there is a primitive data type called ID which can only hold Salesforce.com IDs. Integer, a 32-bit number that does not contain a decimal point. 64 long, a 64-bit number that does not include a decimal point. String, set of characters. Date, date, time, time. Right. So these are the commonly used primitives. Some of you might have used in your other programming language, or you must have heard of these things. String, integer, these are very common, right? So these are all primitive data types. So while writing a program in Salesforce, or while you're using Apex to write a program, you can use primitive data types, right? And the primitive data types is pretty simple to write. Something like a string, and then you give the name of the variable hello equals how are you, right? So this is the name of the variable, this is the data type, and this is the value that you are assigning to it. Integer I equals 45. Okay, things like this. Okay. Now the other part, the next type of data type, which is S object, which is very, very specific to Apex and Salesforce. S object, the term S object refers to any object that can be stored in the Force.com platform database. Any Salesforce object. It can be a standard object, it can be a custom object. Alright. So a data type which can be used to reference a value from an object or a record. Got it? That's what S object is. So in S object, you can store records like primitives. For a string, you can store set of characters. In integer variable, you can store a number. The same way in S object, you can store a record. Okay, a record of which object that you need to define. An S object variable represents a row of data. So as I told you, you can store a record or a row of data. So this is something which can be used for representing a row of data and can only be declared in Apex. So this is native to Apex. So something which you don't see in other programming languages. For example, you can say account A equals new account. So now here your data type is account, okay, and variable is A, and this A represents a complete row of an account, right? So it holds all the fields of account. Correct. The same way we can have other things also. I can say contact C equals new contact and first name equals
Is S object more like array? No, right?
no. S object is something which defines a record from an object, right? So here this is an S object. Contact C equals a new contact, and for that contact I can define the first name, last name. So it holds multiple values, of different fields in one record. Got it? So if you want to define a variable for a record, then you will use this object. Account A equals new account, and then name equals IBM. Opportunity
So,
new opportunity, name equals my opportunity. So this will hold the value of the record, and the record has multiple fields. So you can have, like I have defined it here. Okay. So this is how an S object is defined. So if you are trying to refer to a record which is currently not into the system, then you can use this way. Let's say I'm talking about an account which is currently not into my database. I will use this way. Account A equals new account, and then I can supply the values because it's not in the database. Then I'll have to supply the values, right? If you are referring to an account which is already in the database, account A1 equals, then you can use a select statement there. Select name from account where ID equals, let's say, something. So here it can actually go back and refer to an existing account. So both the ways we can use it. If I'm referring to some some record or some value which is not in the database, then I can do this, the first one. And if I'm referring to a record which is already in the database, then I can fetch it like this. And you can perform an insert operation. So if you write these two lines, then what will happen? A new account with the name IBM will be created. Insert A. So this will get inserted in the database. Here in this case, I don't need to do an insert. I can do an update. I can say A1 dot name equals something. Set it, and I can use an update operation here. right? Because in this case, the record is already existing in the database. So there is no point doing an insert here. Better I try and do an update. Clear? Let me know if there is any question or doubt. All right. So primitives and S objects. Now the third type is collection. Okay. So there are different types of collection of data. So in collection, basically we talk of collection of primitives or S objects. Okay. So it's collection of primitives or S objects. Collection of primitives or S objects means I can be dealing with a collection of any primitive data type like list of string, and this is how collection is defined here. List, call it colors, equals, let's say, new list of string, and we can put a red, green, purple, forever, right? So this is a collection of strings. Serious? All right. The same statement can be written this way also. So if you write this or this, it's the same stuff. Okay, just a different way of writing. So for a list of string, you can always write it like this, or you can write it like this. Means same. There is no difference. Alright, people who have done programming might be aware of this array, right? But don't call it array anywhere. Just call it a list. In Salesforce terminology, there is nothing called array. There's this thing called list, but it can be written in this way or it can be written in this way. Again, I would want you to get into a habit of writing it this way, all right, so that you are able to easily understand the Salesforce thing. And most of the times, any Salesforce program which is written is uses its list keyword. Though the meaning is going to be same, but still, most of the codes you will find it this way. So it's good if you try to get into this habit. Same way, you can have a list of accounts also. List of a subject. So I can say list of account, let's say accounts equals from a select query, select name type from account where industry equals energy. So it will fetch all the records where the industry is energy and put it in this list. So the same way you can have list of contacts, list of contacts, email contacts, whatever the name you want to give, equals select first name, last name from contact where email not equals null. So this will return all the contacts where there is a email ID available and the email field is not blank. Clear? Okay. So let me know if we have any questions or doubts around the data types. So three data types which we have talked about. One is primitive, where we can define string, integer, things like this. Second is sObject. Okay, sObject is again where you can actually refer to a record from an object, and then comes the collection, the list. Okay, so list can be of primitive or it can be of sObject, whichever you want. Right. Now let's do a few examples on the Visual Force page, and yeah, I think your concepts will become a little more clear when we do a few examples. Before that, there are a couple of other things which I will need to tell you. One is, what is a class? You know what's a class? Anyone? In programming, there's something called class. You don't know? No problem. Don't worry. Okay. Let me put it this way. If I'm talking about a program, if I'm writing a program or if I'm writing a code, this code will have some variables and functions. My code will have variables and functions. Correct? I'll define some variable and then I'll define some function. If this is equal to this, then do this. If this is greater than this, do this. So that part is function. And initially you need to define the variables. So for your understanding at this point of time, we are not getting into any technical definition of class. Don't get into that. For your understanding, a class is a collection of some variables and functions. Okay, and these functions are also called methods. Okay, so a class is basically a collection of variables and methods. Now, why do I need to create a collection of methods and variables? So that I can call those methods in different places, and for that I can use the reference of the class. Got it? So what we do is we create a class, we put our variables and methods inside that class, so that everything is organized. The way you save your files inside a folder, and then when you want to refer to that file, what do? You try to refer it through that folder, right? So that's exactly what we are trying to do. We are trying to put all the variables and methods related to a certain program inside a class. Wherever we want to call it, we will call the class and refer to the method through the class. Correct? That's what needs to be done, right? So let's say if I have a class called C1. Inside that class I have defined two variables. One is a string, another is an integer. And I have a method which is called method1. Right? Now, if I want to execute method1 somewhere, on some page or somewhere, I want to call that, I can easily refer it from the class. So I can say, okay, and C1, here is the method. Correct? So that makes things a little more systematic. Okay. So this is the logic. So your program in Salesforce always need to be written within a class where you will define your variables and your functions are the methods. All right. And then wherever you want to call that method, you will just reference to the class and then call the method. That's it. That's how simple it is. Now let's see what can be done here. Okay, let's do a small example on the Visual Force page, and you will understand it. So what we are going to do is we will create an Apex class. I'll tell you how we are going to actually link things here. We'll create an Apex class, and I told you what a class is. Okay. And this class will have all the program, the functions, the variables, everything will be in the class. All right. And on the Visual Force page, what do we need? We need a controller. And we are talking about a custom controller. Right? which means a custom controller is something where we write our own logic. Custom controller is basically where you write your own logics, right? So what I'm going to do is I'll create an Apex class, write my logic or write my program there. I will call that as a custom controller on the Visual Force page. Alright, so the class is called as a custom controller. Okay, and inside the page you can call the methods of the class. Got it? Okay. And one more small concept. When I'm talking about methods in Apex or in any other programming language, there are two types of methods: void methods and non-void methods. A void method will only perform some action or do something, but they will not return anything. They do not return anything. Alright. A non-void method will return some value. Okay.
So can you give me an example for return anything in?
So void method is maybe let's say you want to send an email and you define a method. Acha. Let me come to the void method later. Let me come to the non-void method. So let's say there is a method which will do some calculation and finally return the value as a string, give you a result as string, right? So that method should be written this way. So while you are defining a non-void method, first thing that you should do is you should give the return type. My return type is going to be string. Okay, give the method name whatever you want. Method 1, and it can return how are you. Got it? So wherever you call this method, it will return how are you. I mean, you could have written a more complex logic here, but end of this method, it will return a string. Got it? Or if you say uh, public integer, so here the return type is integer. Method 2. A equals 20, B equals 40, C equals A plus B, return C, right? So this function is going to return you the value of C. So while you're writing a non-void method, you have to make sure that you are defining the return type, what data type is going to be returned. Initially you are defining that, right? Whereas a void method, because there is no return type, it needs to be defined as a void method. Public void method 3, and maybe here you're trying to, let's say, send an email. All right, or assign a value to assign a value to a variable. That's it. You don't want to return anything, you just want to assign a value to something, right? So this method will perform the action. This void method will do the action whatever is required, but it will not return anything. All right, so that's how it is. Now let's go and start creating a class for Visual Force page, right? So first of all, we will start with a simple class that returns a string, and we will try to call that method on the Visual Force page and see if the string is being written on the Visual Force page or not. All right. So Just log out. Rohit, password. I tried putting something and it has taken less time. Okay. So to create an Apex class, first of all, go to setup, develop Apex classes, and click on new, and your Apex class can be defined here. Public class, alright. Any class can be defined as public, private, or global. Okay. So whatever classes are public, they can be accessed within Salesforce, within your Salesforce org. Global can be accessed outside Salesforce also. In case you are writing some code which needs to be accessed by an external system, then you should write it as global. Private can be accessed only within that class. Okay. So the class, outermost class, this cannot be private. This has to be public. If you're writing one more class inside this, then that can be private, and that will only be accessible within that class. Correct? So this has to be public always, until unless you are writing something for an external system. Okay. So this is how it's written. Public class. So public is a keyword. Class is again the keyword. This is a class name. I told you class will have strings and methods or functions, right? Okay. To create a class, I think Devlina missed it. So create a class, setup, develop Apex classes, and then go to new. Let me do it again. Develop Apex classes, click on new. Public class C1. Okay. Now I told you variables and methods. String s. Okay. Let's say equals this is your first controller, custom controller. Okay. Now I cannot directly access a variable on my Visual Force page. Correct? I cannot access a variable on my Visual Force page because variable is nothing. Variable is just a variable. On a Visual Force page, if I want to access a variable, I have to define a method that returns the value. All right, and that method will return the value. Got it? So I'll have to have a method here. This method also needs to be public because it's again something which I'm going to access outside this class. Okay, if I make it private, then it will be available only within this class, but I'm going to call it on my Visual Force page. So I'll make sure that this is also defined as public. The return type is string. So I want to define a method which can return this value of s. So return type is going to be string. Okay. Any method that you want to reference on a Visual Force object to display the data needs to start with get keyword. Okay, get, and then you can just put whatever name you want. So I'm putting get s. Now this is my method name, but your method name should always start with get keyword, right? Return s. Okay, so when I call this method on my Visual Force page, that will return the value of s. That's what it's going to do. Class is ready, created. Okay, now let's go and create the Visual Force page. Here it is. The Visual Force page is to be created. Apex slash let's see which page needs to be created. Okay, so this is my page. I want to call the method from there. So first thing I have to do is I have to use the controller C1. So you call the use the name of the class as the controller. It's not standard controller now, it's only controller because it's a custom controller, right? So this has done the binding. So now this page is connected to that logic of the class, right? And you can call the method here. So for calling the method, it's pretty simple. You just have to use the curly brackets, exclamation mark, and the method name excluding the get keyword. You don't need to use the get keyword here. So my method was get s. I can just use s. It will return me the whatever return is there. Got it? This is how simple it is. Define one more variable here. String p equals this is your second controller. So to return this the value of p, I would need one more get method, public string get p, the value of p here. I can put a line break and then got it. So this is how simple it is actually to create a class and then write your own logic and then return the values on the Visual Force page, right? Now let's do one more example with s object. Now this is pretty much with a primitive. Let me do one example with the s object. So public class c2 and the name that we want to give here is account. So we are going to deal with s object, so I say account a equals new account. It's a name because we are talking about new account, so values I have to give name IPM India industry equals technology. Okay, and then when you define a method, what should be the return type here for the method? Public. If I want to display this on the Visual Force page, what should be the return type of the method?
String.
What should be the return type of this method? I want to write a get method here, getter method. Account,
Oh,
right? I have to return account. That's it. Get A, say return A. So what you are trying to return here, data type of this variable has to be the return type defined here. So A is what? It's an account. So returns account. That's it. Now while you try to call this class on a Visual Force page, controller C2. Okay, since it's an S object, so it holds fields also. So you can just say A dot name. See, it shows the name of that account. You can say A dot industry. It shows the industry also. Correct. So from where these values are coming, these values are coming from here. Since when I define an account, I gave the name IBM India Industry this. Try to reference something else. A dot type. There's no value defined for type, so it does not show anything. Correct. Clear. So how we are actually returning an S object here? So we have returned a string. We have returned an S object. Now let me do one more example for S object with a list of records. So I'll use a custom controller for creating a list of records on the page. So it's pretty simple. Just go to public class, create a class C3. Because I'm going to deal with list of accounts, so I can just use list of account as the data type, call it, give it a name, and here you can write your query. What all fields you need? Select, name, type. So all the columns that you want to display on the Visual Force page, you should put all of them here. Industry, phone, facts from account, right? And then a get method for it. Okay, I missed to mention the data type here, return type. What's the return type for this method?
Account.
Account or something else? Is it okay if I write it this way? Account, list of accounts, right? Correct. So it's going to return a list of account. So there's difference between account and list of account. Basically, account means single record and this means multiple records. That's it. Okay. Now I'm going to use this on my Visual Force page. My class name is C3. So let me just go ahead and create a page. Controller equals C3. Okay, because I am now going to display a list of records, what markup do I need on my Visual Force page? because I'm going to display list of records. What markup do I need on my Visual Force page? What component is required?
Table.
Yes. So see, we have to understand that Visual Force things have to be taken care of in the Visual Force, right? So if you need a table to display that data, you have to have a table here. So let's have a page block, title, list of accounts, custom controller. Okay. Create the page block table. Value. Okay. Here value will be what? We have done it in standard controller. What was the value? That used to come from record set var. Here it will
Yeah.
come from my method. This is what is going to return the list of variables, list of s object, right? So it's going to be ACTS, where A, rest everything is same. Apex column, inside that column, the way you used to do it, same way. Make sure whatever fields you are trying to display on the table, you have named all those fields here. The fields which are not here cannot be displayed here. Okay, so you'll have to first of all query the fields and then only you will be able to display them. So name, type, industry, phone and fax. That's it. Fine. A simple Visual Force page with all the accounts. Here you have the option of putting whatever filters, clauses, whatever you want to put. Let's say I just want to see the accounts where the type is customer direct. You see the type is customer channel, customer direct. I just want to see the accounts where type is customer direct. So go to your code and say select these from account where type equals customer direct. Customer direct. Only the accounts with this type have approved. Here. So with a custom controller, you have bigger control, on the logics. Basically, with standard controller, we did not have any control on logic as such. We were able to, display the data in different ways. We were doing different set of markups, and we were using this, standard logics, but we did not have, too much of a control on the logic, or we had no option of customizing the logic the way we wanted, right? All accounts or one account, that was the choice. Here you can actually put the logics the way you want. Is it okay? Okay. So we will do a small activity. I want you to create a page, a Visual Force page to display opportunities with stage closed one. So there's a stage called closed one. I just want to see a list of all the opportunities where the stage is closed one. And for that, I want you to use the custom controller. Can we just quickly do this? Five minutes. Okay. 10 minutes for this activity. Page for opportunity where you display all the opportunities, list of opportunities where the stage is closed one.
Yes.
Right.
Hey, Jeet, will you be sending these recordings to me?
Yes.
Yeah, please don't forget to send them. I just want to refer if I have any questions.
Sure. Okay. So go to setup, develop Apex classes, click on new. Okay, so this time what I'm going to do is I'll create a page where I can display, two lists. So let me create a class C4 and I say list of account, call it direct accounts equals select name, type, industry, phone, fax from account where type equals customer direct. Okay, I've defined two variables. One is for direct accounts, one is for channel accounts. But, yeah, pretty similar on the lines of what we did in the previous example. And you define two methods for it. Two getter methods. Public list of account, get direct accounts, return direct accounts, and one more which will return the channel accounts.
So there you don't need an underscore when you're saying
See,
get channel accounts.
you can have a method name if you won't even put it here, but it can be different also. It does not have to be same as the variable name. All right, it
Oh,
can be
okay.
different as well. But while you're calling it on the Visual Force page, make sure you're calling this, not the variable name. All right, so you're calling the method name, not the variable name. Now let's go take this, create a Visual Force page. And we'll put apex slash v26. Controller equals c4 apex. Okay, now I'll create two different tables inside this. Fix page block, title direct accounts, and in this I will use a page block table where I call the value from direct accounts. Variable can be a fix column value a dot name type industry phone fax. Here it is, list of your all direct accounts, right? Same way I'll create one more page block
So
with
in
title.
one page block section, you're creating two page blocks again, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
page block I'm creating just for the look and feel part. I could have directly created the table, but I just wanted to add this title and all. For that reason I'm creating page
Okay.
block. And section is giving me two columns, so parallelly I can display both the things.
Okay.
Fix page block table value channel accounts variable fix column phone fax. Let me remove the sidebar. That's it.
Okay.
Or what we can do is let's go and remove the type field from both of them, from both the tables. Because we know it, the type it's already mentioned in the title. Where did it go wrong? Started end. Okay, that's how it is. Fine. With the same class, let me create one more page. Let's say I don't want to see them like this. These lists, I rather would want to see them in tabs. Okay, I want to have two different tabs, and then I want to be able to switch the tabs and see the data. So I can use the same controller, create another page. Controller can be C4 text page block, and the title can be list of accounts by type, and I can create a tab panel here, and inside the tab panel I'll create the tabs. Uh, Label of the tab, which can be channel accounts, and let's say the label width is 300 px. Page block table inside this, value variable text column, okay. So this is one tab that we have created. Similarly, we can create one more tab, which can be for direct accounts. Value is name, page block table is missing. Text page block table, yes. Value can be direct accounts and variable can be A. Right. So now we have created two different tabs. The moment you click on a tab, you get to see the channel accounts, and the other tab shows you direct accounts. Right. Devlina, you there? You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
What
yeah,
accounts? Acha.
we
You're
have,
sorting it by type.
yes. So we have just,
You're sorting it by type, right?
yeah, we just did an example where we have defined two variables. One where the type is customer direct, one where the type is customer channel, and two getter methods we have got for it. And on my Visual Force page, I have created two tabs. Under each tab, there is one table. That's what we have done. Right?
Okay. Can you share the code after the class?
Yep.
Sure. Fine. This is understandable. Can you show me the visual page course ka code? This page ka code?
If you remember, there was an example that we did for tabs, tab panel tab, same thing.
Yes. Okay. आपने दोनों को अलग वेरिएबल के अंदर स्टोर किया, एक चैनल एक्ट्स एक डायरेक्ट एक्ट्स, एंड दैट्स हाउ यू सॉर्टेड इट, एंड वो अलग
Right.
टैब्स में आप दिखा रहे हो,
Created
राइट?
two different tables here. Right.
So,
Absolutely correct. All right. Rohit, you're okay with it?
I'm sorry, Jeet, I couldn't hear you.
Uh, do you have any questions or anything to ask on this code, this page that we just did, the
No,
tab
no, good
one?
for now, good for now.
Great. All right. So now there's one more method which we are going to use now, or rather let me call it one more return type, which is a page reference. Okay. So sometimes if you want a page to, you want a method to take you to some other page, there the return type should be page reference. All right. So you can give a reference of a page and it will take you to that particular page. Right. I'm going to use page reference method now and uh, do some coding there. Let's say I am on V26. All right. So it's the same controller that I'm using on this page and the other page, right? On V26 and V27, I've used the same controller. Now I also want to be able to, toggle between these two pages, tabbed view or table view. Okay, let's say. So I can define one more method here, which will have a return type of a page reference, public page reference. So this has to be the return type in case you want to return a page. So this method will take you to a different page. So let me call it tab. You can give it whatever name you want. So I call it tab. This tab should return page dot v27. Okay, so this should take me to v27 because I have tabs there. I define one more method, public page reference section. This should take me to v26. I return v26. No, sorry, page.v26. Page.v26. So this will take me to v26. All right. Where will I call this method? These page reference methods can be called using a link or a button. So clicking on the button, you will be redirected to this page or this page, right? So let me just come to this code, Visual Force code, and write a command button here. Fx page block buttons, fx command button value, go to section view, and in the action you can call that method name. So my method name is section. And fx form component is required because I'm using a button. That's it. Okay, so the moment you click on this, go to section view, it will take you to the section view. Now if you from this page you want to go back to that tab view, you should create a button on the markup of this page also. Go to v26 first, create a button on the markup of that page. Fx page block buttons, fx command button value, go to tab view, action tab, form component is required, fix form component, All right. Go to tab view, takes to the tab view. Go to section view, will take you to the section view. Got it? How we are toggling between things now? So page reference method can be used for jumping from one page to the other. Is that okay? There's one more thing, while you're on the tab view, when you click on this button, the entire page gets reloaded. Once you click, you switch between the tabs, the entire page gets reloaded. In case you don't want that thing to happen, you don't want the entire page to get reloaded, because if your page is heavy and if it has too many components, then it might affect uh, the performance of the page, right? So for that, what we can do is, for that we can just go to our code. Tab code is on v27, so go to v27, expand it, and in the tab panel there is an attribute which is called switch type. Make switch type equals ajax. Okay, so switch type equals ajax will do what? It will only reload that particular section. Now see, the entire page is not getting reloaded, and as a result it has become a lot more faster. Correct? So while you're using tab panel, it's always good to use switch type equals ajax. Is that fine? Let me know if there is any question or doubt. You're okay? All right. Now I will do one more example where we are going to use the page reference method for updating the values in a variable. So far what we have been doing, we have been just defining the variables and static variables we have been using. Now I want dynamic variable, and the variable name will change with a page reference. So let's just go to setup, then go to develop, Apex classes. Let me create a new class. Public class C5, and I'll define a list of account here, but I'll not give it any value. I'll just call it accounts and I don't assign any value to it. And then I define a get method for it, which will return the value of this list of accounts. And then we can define a page reference method to update the value of this accounts. There's no value assigned to it, right? What I'll do is public page reference channel, and on click of this button I just want to update the value of accounts. So I want to make it accounts equals select name, type, industry, phone, fax from account where type equals customer channel. Right, return will be null. Okay, so using this page reference, I don't want to go into some other page. I just want to be on the same page, just that I want to do this. I want to perform this operation, assigning value to this variable, right? So return will be null. Return null will not take you to any other page. If you give any page reference here, then it will take you to that page, but I'm not doing that. I'm just saying return null. I don't want it to return anything. Page reference, one more method, call it direct, and here I can say in this case accounts equals to the same thing, just that the clause will change. Customer direct, return null. Right, so I have two page reference methods, but this time I'm not using my page reference method to go to some other page. I'm just using it to assign some value to my variable. All right, so this time I'm dealing with one variable and two page reference methods. These page reference methods can be called using the button actions, and the value to of the variable can be updated using these methods. So let me go ahead and create a class. Sorry, create a page. /v create. So this time you don't need to create two different tables in the markup. You just need to create one table, and the value inside that will be dynamic. So let me create an fx page block here, create a page block table here. Value can be counts, variable can be a x column, value can be a of name, type, industry, phone, fax. Right, does not show any value because initially the accounts is blank. There's no value assigned to it. It gets its value only when that method is run. Right, list of accounts, and then I can go ahead and create page block buttons. Let me create two buttons and call those methods here. X command button, channel counts, and the action will be and the action can be the one that I defined there, channel, and I will create one more button for the direct accounts. Make it direct, show it as direct accounts. That's it. It requires a form component. Let me put that. So that's it. Right. Now this page does not show any value at this point. It will get only value once I click on this button. Right. That's what we have done. On this method or on this method, value is assigned to this accounts variable. That's it. Channel accounts, direct accounts. Right. So it's a different way of doing the same thing, because I cannot create, if the previous example that we did, we were dealing with two tables. So two tables I can still put in markup. But is it possible if I have 8 tables like that? Can I, just go and put 8, different tables in the markup? We can, but that's not the correct way of doing that. So rather make your variables dynamic and use just one markup. More markup, heavier your page gets. So we'll try to definitely reduce the markups or the components on the page, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm just using lesser components and I'm making them dynamic so that I'm able to display also the values and the code is also written in the right way. Clear on this? Please let me know if we have any questions or doubts on this.
Jeet, actually, can we kind of stop here, because I think I need to get familiar with the code.
Yeah. So this is the last example in here which we were gonna do. So just let me know if we have any questions or doubts here. We are okay. This code is fine. All right. So let me just do one thing. Rohit, I would just need a small help from you. We have been using your